Well, good morning, everyone. Those of you here in Austin, as well as those of you tuning in remotely. I'm Mark O'Brien, and kick things off with day 2 of the 14th Worldwide Developer Conference for CA2E, CA Plex, conference. This morning we are going to start things off with the Modernization Roundtable. And before that, it gets a housekeeping issue. So the room that I'm standing in right now is going to be conference room number 1. And then to my left, there's a divider going up, and that will be conference room 2. So that will correspond with people coming in remotely on your links. So if there's any, if you have any doubt or want to know when a favorite session is going to be held, go to plex2e.com and look at sessions, and that's where the latest information and any updated times and so forth will be in there as well. So I'd like to introduce our panel for modernization. It's the popular and timely topic each time we do this. Clearly, the conference that we've done of that. And so I'm going to introduce each person. Can actually come up and please take your seat. So first up is Abraham Donitzer of Whopper Group, Tim Lytek of Faralloy, Alexander Levy from Quebec, Don Estes, Group, Russell Berkeley, Tim first, and PO Box, Post Canada. And then John Rhodes, see him first, CTO. So I've selected this group for a variety of reasons, and some are customers, some are practitioners, some have actually designed modernization, different transformation efforts. And so we've got one mic to share because of the people online. So I'm going to ask a question, and then I'll pass on to Abram, and then kind of go down and then down to John. I'll ask another question, kind of bring the mic back. So first one is when you're looking at your modernization business, and for some it's going to be more than one, but what do we say the key challenge you've had to overcome out of all? I mean, there's a lot of risk and a lot of things going on. What do you think is the key barrier to overcome in terms of kicking off a modernization project?
I understand that can be very scary for a lot of people, especially with like big bang approaches to modernization. So which is why kind of inquiry was such a big thing for law firm. And with that, we are now taking a more structured, like strangling vine approach. So that is my best advice to reduce anxiety about these kind of things. But the biggest challenge is literally just technical data. This was written by someone 30 years ago. They have not been with the company for a decade. Or even if the person is still with the company, they wrote it decades ago. And I don't know about you, I don't remember things I wrote 10 minutes ago. So remembering stuff decades ago is not difficult. So finding meaning and the reason why the code is the way it is as you're trying to replace it and modernize it, that tends to be the most difficult part.
I totally agree with that too. Digging through old code, you have stuff that dates back to the 80s, which is even older.
It's not a contest.
I'm just saying, that's the way I think too.
It's smellier than
But the other thing too is the change. You know, the users having to change and modernize. They're used to doing everything a certain way, and now you have to do it this way. Now I have to hit this key to get to here. And it's like so sad.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I agree with both of you. Change management with user, it's hard, and it's also include our IT developers, because our Plex developer have to change their way, because we're modernizing, we're changing languages, we're changing the way we work, and they need to change. So they have a learning curve. They were experts in the domain for so many years. They do stuff in seconds, and now they start from the bottom, and there's a lot of new change, they're not, they don't know CICDs, they don't know agile, things like that, it's hard to, put in, the learning curve for ITs you need to think about it because, it's gonna be hard if you wanna be with your own team, inside, so you need domain experts that will come through the modernization because you will not achieve it other way.
From my experience, I've noticed that, when looking at the user that's been around about 30 years, and their experience has always been 137 F4 and enter your data. And I find that's funny because when I look at the new generation that's coming into the business and trying to train them, they're usually saying, where's the mouse? Or where's the voice activation? And so it's so hard as a coder to code for the old generation, for the ones that don't want to change. And then try and train the new generation who kind of are looking at us as though we're old folks and what are we doing with these green screens? So that's always been a challenge for me in coding.
When I come into, a new customer, first thing I ask them is, where are you going? What do you want to end up with? What's your goals, and eventually we've got to talk about resource. But, in my opinion, too many people approach modernization as a technical project. It's not. It's a business project. And if you're going to change the business, you may very well get the greatest benefit out of modernization by doing so. But you also introduce the greatest risk. Because if you have something new, how do you know that it's going to be correct? Now, automatic answer is testing. The problem is when you have complex logic coming out of old code, and it is literally impossible to test it because you would have so many different permutations of the data. And you have to have the tools to let you know what you've accomplished and what you haven't. So, number one, business goal. Number two, is risk, how you mitigate the risk. Number three is your, resources. And number four is you have a good psychiatrist. That's the way I approach it, but I also think I don't think one size fits all. If you have a suite of application, you could probably take a simple, straightforward technical modernization for maybe 70–80% of them. But there's some that are going to be business critical, and that's where most of your problems are going to come. And it's also where your biggest opportunities are. So, double-edged sword.
Thank you. Well, I don't have any new points to make. I think that have already been made, but my experience working with customers, and been doing a lot of that lately, working with people that are moving from legacy to packages like Salesforce or from legacy to Java. A lot of it comes down to, I think Abram made it, application understanding is really difficult when the code's been running great for 20 years and no one's touched it because they didn't have to, but now they do. So someone's got to go and figure out what's happening and how does that code move to new language or new package. That's key thing, and having some tools to help with that is important. I think also there is a big paradigm shift that's difficult for an RPG or COBOL developer that's used to the green screen and used to checking things in on source code, like whatever tool they're using, and then checking it out and not really doing into a DevOps pipeline. Yeah, Java, JavaScript. So those are the two main things that see this big challenge. You can overcome those. Usually things go okay. All right.
So John, just continuing with you, what would be what's the key benefit? When we look at, all those different customers and different goals and different, like, it's competing business agendas and, short wars over resources. What do you say is the overriding benefit?
That's a tough one. I think it's almost business imperative to put things in a technology that your workforce, your available workforce can understand. So you're not gonna, there's a lot of talk about training RPG, a lot of college and RPG, mobile, and there's some of that going on, but this reality is, college science grads don't want to learn that. So I think you just have to move into new technologies people want to work with. And you don't do that, then you see your whole workforce retire and they're gone, and where do you go from there? So I think that's the main reason people are looking at modernizing. It may not come down to dollars and cents today, but it will, in 5 years.
I find too many people, modernizing, thinking they can save money. And the harsh reality, which is not always appreciated, is that the projects that will save you money, every month have already been done. In almost every case that I've walked into. You have to look at other savings. If you have a significant sized programming staff, if you can increase the productivity of your programmers by, a factor of 2 or 3, and in some cases even greater, depending on what technologies you're going to pick up, that right there may justify it. The best projects are the ones that allow you to optimize business operations across your whole organization. And that has the greatest potential, and depending, of course, on the economics of the organization. Obviously, if it's the smallest company, that's probably won't apply significantly. But I look for the business benefits, the biggest benefits being outside of IT. And most of us are IT people, so we tend to think of benefits inside IT. And of course, the cherry on the cake is if you have a way to generate new revenue, putting your business on the web. I mean, I don't know which business is, but in some cases that can make a big difference. The poster child that I give for increasing productivity was from the U.S. Patent Office, and the net of that was that the business goal was that they had 700 attorneys, and they handled the trademark applications, and they needed to hire 200 more. So our challenge was to increase their productivity enough they didn't have to hire those people, which is in fact what we did by going through and optimizing all aspects of what they did every day, and thereby avoided what would have been, at least $150 million investment in building a new building to put them in, and hiring another 200 attorneys. So we can be right in front of you where you get the benefits, but you got to recognize.
I think for me, quarter century working in sign-on 2E. Right now, I found companies that I've worked for, they take for granted the fact that 2E generates code so quickly, and you can turn around code and it changes really quickly. Now that we can't find a lot of 2E developers, that they're moving to other types of applications, they're spoiled. They don't realize how good they had it with a 2E coder. Now they need 10 Java programmers and another 10 months, you could do a job that would take a 2 week developer month. So that's a big challenge, and the 2 companies that I work for, going through that right now. Finding someone that either support the system, the 2 system that's working solid and moving forward on running it. And just realizing the cost of doing that right is eye-opening for them.
And for us, one part is the recruiting. As we are from Quebec, recruiting developers that speak French at a layer of complexity. So finding Plex developers in Quebec is really hard. So when we hire some developers, they don't want to do Plex. So we need to move on. We cannot stay where we are right now. That's the benefit for IT. But for the business, we have to have a goal, and the goal for us is to innovate process. We have done things the way it is for 30+ years. They never changed their way to work, and we need to evolve. We need to have a Linux employee doing key entry. We need to have their values, because even on business side, employee that only key punch things don't like their job, they're moving on. We have a turnaround of people. We need to train them every 2-3 months or a year, because they left for something more enjoyed, or they will enjoy their jobs. So we need to add value to their jobs. So optimizing a process is part of our organization, because we need to please our employee too.
I would say for us being in the steel business, one of the most difficult things is, it's not finding the programmers, the younger programmers, it's for them to learn business. And they come in thinking, hey, you know, I can program this, they can learn sign-on. It's learning the business has been the most difficult thing, and it takes years upon years. At least in our industry, out there.
Can't just look at some YouTube videos, Ken?
Well, all of the knowledge is built in with my 27 years, and I've got another employee that's got 45 years, and she's retired. I'm very nervous about them now.
I think probably the biggest incentive for us is, staff. Before I came along, Locker was a 2 week Java shop. As you can imagine, making those two things work with each other would be a lot of extra hoops you have to jump through. And as you start to replace them, those hoops disappear. A lot of our actual like technical complexity actually disappears too. The other kind of weird side benefit that we get from rewriting this is, John kind of pointed out, there's stuff that's been there for so long and it's working for so long. Well, also there's been bugs that have been there for so long and they don't realize it. And as I go and look at it, I'll be like, hey, this doesn't make sense. Why are you doing this? I go, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. And so our code actually improves and our complexity decreases. Easy example of that is we have a document management system. And to make that work with the silent application, we'd be running a table to something, somebody would have a job lister coming that would then write it, then trigger the API, then do the thing. Instead, as I build the report, I just trigger an API. It's like one line of code. So these things, while it seems, daunting rewriting, but there's lots of code there. You actually reduce complexity as you start unifying everything to the same code base.
My next question is,
The next question is, when you think of your modernization projects, is there a third rail or just, an area and just, you don't want to go there because it's a cultural thing, or it's the, CEO's plan, or some reason, maybe a valid business reason, or may not, but maybe a valid reason, but so there are things that are untouchable with the project.
The only thing, for example, that we're actually not touching is not really because it's untouchable. We just have kind of this chest that does all of it, does all for us, and it's paid for, our license is paid over 10 years. So we're like, we'll just wait on that. But the biggest thing that we were like, at least I was scared to touch, is we have the largest portion of our code that exists out of law. It's all of our code that communicates with US Customs backwards and forwards. It is a lot of functionality, but you're never gonna modernize until you start. And I'm literally almost done with it now. It's a main bottom line. a month and a half of just keep doing it. And it's kind of just a pull the band-aid off situation, just get started, it's never gonna get done until you start it. Nothing's irreplaceable, I'll just say that. So,
I'd have to say, with us, it's EDI. Most of that is 90% of our business communication with our vendors, back and forth, and our customers. And, it's all in COBOL, it's outside of the model, and it's going to be an animal to attack. And we decided to take that out of the rewrite of our system and do it, well, 3, 4 years down the road from now. So that's the scariest part, is dealing with this COBOL, and that's 4 years.
For us, the scariest part, is, we have a side of the business that's surrounded by privacy, that we cannot even as IT developer cross. These kind of people do, investigation about other lawyers, so we cannot see what's going on. And, they work, behind the shadows for so many years. They have their process that nobody knows what they does. But that's the part that our CEO wants us to optimize. So that's the starting point for us. So we start with the scariest part. It's gonna be hard. So we hire some experts in this domain to start digging through them without access to data, without access to anything, just to be sure that how can we help you right now? It's gonna be a slow dance with them. We need to do it step by step, because every time we scratch something, they say, oh, it's privacy, we cannot help you with that. Don't talk about it. But we need to do it, and that's the parts where we will have the most benefits if we succeed. So we need to do that, and if we succeed, it's gonna create hopes all over the business, because if you do the scariest parts and you have success, way and counterpart, if we don't succeed, it's gonna be hard to move on with the others. But CEO call, we'll start by that.
What comes to mind to me is, forms, reports, barcodes, stuff like that, that really TUI doesn't handle very well. And, from the companies that worked on that, a lot of that code was written native by, I guess, the generation before me. It was all pre-sign on. So that's those sort of programs were probably untouchables, because no one wanted to go in there and rewrite them. They were working, just call them from an external function and go from there. So as we move forward, yeah, I mean, making changes was very difficult. Adding certain things to a bill of lading or a customs report that's required would take forever. Just because you'd have to go into the meat of the code and just work your way through it. So that's what I would think this comes to mind. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking of 2 different projects when I think of what's the scariest thing that I've walked into. The one that I did mention, the patent office. Well, the thing I didn't mention about the attorneys is that they were unionized. I said, what? I have a unionized attorney that gives me palpitations. And so we've got this monolithic mainframe application, which we're rebuilding on Linux and Java. And the central constraint that we were handed was that we cannot make the attorneys use the new system. We have to leave the old system working while the new system is also working. We had to create true bidirectional data replication and equivalent functionality between the two, and maintain that. Now, that was supposed to be a 4-year project. My understanding is it's still running like that 10 years later. But then that's the goal, sorry. from a technical perspective, the scariest that I've seen is, well-known insurance company. 10 million lines of assembler that went into production in 1968. Another 10 million lines of COBOL. And then also for fun, we got some PL1 thrown in there, like, you know, every generation they hired new programmers that wrote new languages. And, oh, by the way, don't break anything or you're gonna break our business. And, yeah, I gave them a plan to actually do that. I don't think they like the price tag. So. Costs what it costs. There you go.
Thanks. Wow, scary third rail stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been part of a lot of projects with my career, starting with, moving off the mainframe to different things like AS400s, and then you can go in the other direction in some cases. But what I've seen the most problems and failures has been when people do try to do the big bang. And big bang not just being rewriting it, but maybe they're also trying to put new requirements, new functionality in, change the database schema, change the platform. They try to do that all in one phase, and I just never seen that go well. I think that's 3 years in, and then we realize we're going nowhere. We just have to cancel the whole thing. That happens far too often, I think.
I'm going to ask the next question. I get, on the revenue side, I get calls from people frequently that, they see an ad, they see a, 500 article about the cloud and low code. And they call me and say, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that with my system? So I'm gonna ask you, how do you finesse? This is into a company, and that's, I'm going to the cloud, going to low code. When we get started, how do you convince that?
Wow. Yeah, it's just a matter of, I don't know, maybe your point, it's just education. You're not gonna change someone's mind without going into, an alternate viewpoint that makes sense to them, so. That's how I'll do it.
Well, thank you for this question. This is actually an area where I've been doing a lot of work. Legacy to low code. No one that I know is doing that. Except it's not me. And the way you do it is remembering that the low code system is working without systems. And one of the market leaders, Mendix is another one. But you can take the business rules out of the old code and load them into the rules engine. That's embedded in the low code system. You can take the data model. If you're lucky, it's in a relational database. If not, you're going to have to renormalize it. So you can map it to relational, but you can directly import that. Then you've got the user interface. Well, here you're going to do more manual work, but you have a design that works. You can look at the screen and see what it's doing, and you can type stuff into it and see the results. And you can, of course, you can always look at the code in the back of it. But making such a paradigm shift, remember that what you've got, you have assets that will simplify that project and reduce the cost, and also make sure you don't end up with the never-ending project that gets canceled after 4 years.
I'm gonna speak from two companies that I work for. First one, Slater Steels in Hamilton. Back at the start of 2E, so I guess this would be getting into 2E 2.0. And it was a case of, I think what John was saying, that CEO read an article about this new case tool sign on and how great it's gonna be, so it came up with the decision. Let's rewrite the entire system that we have working in sign on. And, told her this little joke, the way I interpreted it was. It takes 9 months for a lady to have a baby. So if you get 9 ladies, you can probably do it in a month. That was the thinking of the CEO, so what he did was, he said, over a year, to rewrite the entire thing and sign on. Hired about 32 programmers, contractors to just work on that. I wasn't on that project, I started the project, I just came in a month before implementation. When 30 programmers walked out, because they knew it wasn't gonna work, and I was the one that left. So, it was things, because it was April 1st, it was still at home. You know, I always do that, that's thinking of jobs. So that was back in the 80s, and, fortunately, that's happening again with the last company I was working for, because I was the only 2E programmer there. We just upgraded last year to the Power 9s, 2 of them. And then I moved on, and I was looking for another year, 10-year, looking at. My manager is now looking, has been told that the entire, 2E application that's been around for 40 years, she needs to find a replacement for it in the next year. So again, it's a CEO decision, thinking that it's an easy process. And then she's got a lot of things to think about.
On our side, financings come, only revenue is, from our members. We have 30,000 members, so, if we, go on a project that will have, impact on their premium, it will be direct to them. So, what we've done, I just passed through the financing with the board, a few months ago. We started with, 2 years ago, starting with build success. So, we start with a lower impact, development. We start, laying the ground, building our APIs, doing first project, and when we have success, we can now move on. We call it evolve. So we evolve a little bit, prove that we can do it internally with experts. And now we build a tech forward board showing them what to do the next 5 years. So building on the past 2 years we've been, we show them that this is what we can achieve now with the team, keep the financing we have, and what's we need to put in to yeah. We propose them a 5-year relapse where they can each year adjust the financing. So we made a low and a high amount that they can go to. For the 3 years, they drop off all the money we need. Each year we go back to them and said, we need that or that. What do you choose? In this way, they are not committed to put all the money up front on the first year. So it was easier for them to say, okay, it's gonna have an impact improvement for members. On year 1, maybe on year 2 it's gonna be less, depending on the success we have. So that's the way we achieve to get that financing for the next 5 years.
I think with us, I've been asking in the past, is there a more modern software out there we can use to program with and stuff like that? And it's always come back to the amount of time it takes in 2E to develop something that's 10 times quicker than any other language. Wow. And the money we're saving by doing it is just, that's my answer to them every time. But finding new 2E programmers is difficult. And, but training them to learn how to use it isn't that difficult, so. Where we're at with it.
So you can do anything on the cloud, you're running services that would be on the cloud?
Really.
For us, and I think this is kind of true with most tech trends, including AI, really it's a communication between technical and non-technical, managing expectations of the non-technical person with the reality of the technical person's insight. Because obviously there are benefits to all these tools. There's benefits to moving to the cloud, benefits of integrating AI, but being able to, talking down from what the marketing person for the person said, for the people selling it is, to what we can actually use it for and how it will actually benefit us. You kind of just need to, education, like John said, just kind of meet in the middle and find and target specific things rather than the big bang use of pretty much anything is probably not gonna be a great idea, whether it be a big bang conversion, big bang, doing all AI. So those things are not generally not great ideas. And so the targeted places where you can start to integrate these things, like benefit you if you notice, oh, we're actually getting more benefit than I expected, and you can expand those ideas into other parts of your application and your business. But you don't want to just jump both feet in. I never think that's a good idea. So,
Great, been a lot of talk about, cybersecurity and ransomware. And is that a bigger threat to your business than it was a year ago or not? And, if so or if not, what kind of steps might you want to take without revealing, without revealing too much about, just the reality, the new reality we're in?
so you want our sysadmin passwords? So no, yeah, so, the shipping industry is a very common target for hackers. We are tempted, and people attempt to hack us every day, all day. It is illegal. So one of the things that we're kind of really thinking about is, because to be frank, the AS400 password security system, it's not the greatest. If you can, you only have so many limited characters, but then you can lock people out, but then users lock themselves out. So finding balance there. One thing we're actually looking into is limiting IP addresses that can even access the site. So we really have employees in certain areas, so we are really gonna maybe allow them. We haven't really integrated that yet, but it's just one of the things we're thinking about. It's really just trying to, I think the main thing is trying to educate people for phishing. So to understand if somebody's trying to their password in them or something like that. But yeah, we're trying to think of more like scammery approaches, I guess. But we also don't want to cripple our business by doing it as well. So it's a little both.
I would say with ransomware, IBM is pretty secure. We're using, small character passwords right now. And we also, for emails and stuff like that, we use a product, it's called like Note 4. It sends out fake phishing, and if user click money, they have to do training class. And there's even a few users that actually click on it. Some of them are pretty good. I've had a few come through and it's like, it's something from Amazon, package is delayed. I'm like, yeah, I just ordered something yesterday. And if you're really busy and you get like 50, 60, 70 emails a day like I do, you're like, oh, and you almost want to click on it, and you're in trouble. That's how we take it.
On our side, we have pretty sensitive data that we had some of all these prime ministers are loggers, so we have data that thinkers will want to have, and it's like that on every professional order in Quebec. So we have to put efforts on security, on cybersecurity. So we have hired specialists that is full time working for us, improving our security day after day. But the failure in all that, it's always human. So we does like that. We does training for periodically for all our employees. We does a phishing email trying to find out, and sometimes that's IT guys that click on the phishing. It's not because you're hearing out that you not fall for that. So we need to invest every year in cybersecurity. It's a cost that wasn't there 10 years ago. Now it's a big part of the budget, and we need to be on the high end, because if we lost some data, it could be some things that are really hard for the business. So it's it's not on the dev side, it's on the exploitation side on our business. So it's a big part of this budget of my partner. We need to have this guy called Dave, all day working for us. He cannot he can take vacation. We don't want him to take vacation. So it's important to market to others professional order to make sure that we're not at the end of the parade. We need to be a step further to make sure that all of it are secure.
Well, with my former employer, we were hit with, ransomware during the COVID days. Funny thing is, it was not the IBMI that was hit, it was all the other systems, so. The idea there was the IBMI must be solid, so they got invested in a secure, very platform. They were looking at all the other ones. And as I was leaving, I mentioned to them that the IBMI is just as vulnerable as anything else. It, yes, it's cheap. So it's hard to invest money in something that's not happened yet. So when you tell them, you've got same user ID and password there, that's a problem. Until it actually affects the during using it, fortunately.
So this is such a nasty problem. I'm always happy to outsource it. But because I'm trying to take business rules out of 30, 40 plus year old code. So I don't really have much to say on that subject, because in effect, people on mainframes or any of the I-series platforms, it's all the same thing. By the time they were built, none of these security problems exist. So there was nothing put in related to it. Rare exceptions, I've seen a little bit of code here that you have to go and strip out, but so mostly, it's most of money goes for intelligence. Because I think it's an independent discipline. It is so complex. You must be on top of it every single day, in which case you don't have time to learn how to do all this other stuff. So call an expert.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I don't know that much about it. I can say that the problem is worse today than it was a year ago, and it'll be worse a year, well, a lot worse probably, You're about quantum computing coming up and all these algorithms getting cracked and it's just gonna get worse as the computing power goes up. So yeah, it's this problem. We've had a couple breaches and had to harden our systems. But for our customers, it's much worse because they are dealing with more offensive data than we are, like healthcare, financial. And I think it's something to take seriously. I personally don't know what to do about it. As Don said, you can't learn everything. So I would also advise people to invest in that area and get experts. Thanks, John. Kind of our closing question here for everyone is, based on the two keynotes that you heard yesterday and all the buzz about AI, what's one thing that you could share with our audience that you're exposed to, you saw something yesterday that was kind of that piqued your interest or piqued your curiosity about AI? Well, I was really interested in the Microsoft presentation. I hadn't personally, we use Microsoft Azure AI services quite a bit. Hadn't really looked at the co-pilot aspects of it and the kind of the chat integration and all the things that Microsoft's built off of. Well, very interesting to me. But also you can see that, and this guy was so brave in these live demos. Wow. A lot of stuff that didn't work. And I think what's become apparent to me anyway, and we're working with a team on our AI efforts over the past year, is that you got to put a lot of time in, not the AI itself, but preparing your data for the AI. And that's really where you have to plan on investing the most. Or else you end up with results you can't trust or strange results. And so that's the key thing, and that's what we're focused on in our business, is making sure that we get some good results, we get some nice results, but they're predictable and they're also accurate. And that's actually the challenge I see with AI right now.
I have avoided experimenting with most of this because I consider it to be so immature that it doesn't really have any direct applicability, but it is certainly coming. I mean, I think so will come to me, and so we've got this AI system that can translate COBOL into Java, and then they go off on all sorts of, wonderful efforts on it. My only question is, where did you get the training sets? You can get lots of COBOL. If you want to train an AI on the COBOL language or RPG or, any other, representative of programming system. But you have to also show it what you want to end up with. It gets trained by seeing, here's the old stuff, here's what the new stuff should look like. And that's shut up everyone that I've talked to so far. And until we have that, I don't think there's going to be anything, for direct code modernization. A co-pilot kind of thing, something to help out here and there. Oh, yeah, I've already seen that now. That can be helpful. But somebody comes in and tells me that they can translate all this code using an AI engine. As my great grandfather used to say, keep your back to the door and your hand on your 45.
For me, the presentation was like a bittersweet one for me, because I'm a techie. I think I'm right up there as far as tech, iPhone, Apple Watch. They've seen me last night with my Meta Ray-Ban glasses, which has got AI built into it. And so I love what I saw yesterday. However, I can tell you that I wear out a lot of keyboards, pressing the F8 key, as I try to move fields from one area to the other on the green screen. And that's depressing for me, to see all this AI, to see what Tesla's doing, and Microsoft, and Meta, and what's working on a green screen. So that's where it's a little bittersweet for me when it comes to AI.
For us, it was a good presentation. It's fun to see what can be accomplished, but I don't want to spoil everything, but I have a speech this afternoon about the project that we have in AI at Knowledge Quebec to find our business rules that the knowledge lost 2 years. It's for us, it's something that we do for the past few months to look at what can be done with AI. And on the other end, lawyers provides information to clients, but now clients turn to AI asking if they can do that or not. Legal advice is a concern. So our side, as we need to protect the public, we also will provide governance to guidance to people to how they can use AI in the legal context, because that's something that people are not aware of hallucination that AI can provide. So AI say that it's the truth, but often it's not. We need to educate people that see AI as the new goal, the new God. Even if they always think the truth, that it's not what happened right now. So it's not mature enough to be reliable on the 100% of the time.
Yeah, I'd have to say with AI, it's in its infancy, and taking a bunch of different conferences, talking about AI and stuff like that I've had in the last few years. They're saying it's like 80% accuracy, and depends on what data you feed into it. I don't see it really doing coding that well. Probably the best thing it's good for is maybe trends and stuff. So assuming full data and giving you future trends and stuff like that, I think it would be really bad. But it's really where I see it right now.
Yeah, I kind of also mentioned like taking a big bang approach towards implementing AI. I don't think it's a very good idea. We at Waffle are looking into AI in certain areas. One difficulty, well, we're trying to look at it from a database analysis point of view. But one difficulty we have is, if you've ever seen a TUI database, the fields and tables are not named very well. Trying to train the AI and explain to the AI what all these are and how it mean, or what it means and how these relate. Those are the difficulties that we're finding actually implementing it. But we are going to try to start piloting some of our business analysts using it to analyze our data model and try to pull out new business rules for enhancements and things like that. So smaller approaches is what I would advise, because one, that's what we're doing. I think we're doing the correct thing, or at least I like to think that. So that's kind of where we're going with it.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to ask for this round of applause now for our roundtable. Thank you very much for your participation, again. And, we'll have a short break now and, get the room set up for our next session's community.